Priya, and I'll be hosting this session today. Okay, I'm one of the lecturer from Center for Education and Language, and I'm so excited to be hosting this session today. So before we begin, I have few housekeeping items to cover about this webinar. First, today's webinar will be available on our webpage after the live session as well as during the live session, and it is accessible at any time. We would like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social networks out there. Secondly, we have also added some attachments such as the survey forms, webpage link at the bottom of your screen. Also, you can find more about MAHSA University or other related contents, including our programs, previous webinars or upcoming webinars at our MAHSA University Facebook webpage as well as the webpage. Okay. Next, we would love to hear questions from you during today's webinar. If you have questions to be asked, please feel free to send it through the comment box below. Okay, we'll be answering your questions at the end of this session. If we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterward. Okay. Now I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Miss Nurul Najwa. Okay. Hi.
Hello, hi Miss Priya.
Hi. So Miss Nurul, she's our English University Subjects Coordinator at CEL, and she has been teaching English University subjects for the past 5 years. And today she's going to share some useful tips to our viewers on how to ace your writing assessment. So without any further ado, I would like to kick things off by welcoming our beautiful speaker of the day, Miss Nurul, over to you. Hi, Miss Nurul. I'm really so glad to have you here. So,
Yeah,
shall
I'm
we
very
start our
glad.
session now,
Yes, sure.
or you want to say something to our audience or to
All
our
right.
viewers?
So before we start, actually, I want to start with it's a great honor to be here to be part of our talk today. All right. So first of all, thank you to MAHSA University and also CEL for having me here in the talk today. And before we start, I would like to also say thank you to the other two persons who are helping us behind the scene, Mr. Badrul and also Miss Sharon. All right, so if it's not because of them, we wouldn't be here today, right, Miss Priya?
Yes,
So
yes. Thank you to them as well.
and yeah, today's topic is a very great topic, particularly for our students, and not to mention to our colleagues as well, and also to other viewers who are dealing with written tasks. Right? So yeah, the title here is the quick tips to ace your written assessment. And yeah, I really hope that it will be beneficial for you, and I will also encourage you to ask questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer it at the end of the session. Right?
Yeah, viewers, should you have any kind of questions related to the writing assessment, please feel free to ask. You can just type your questions at the comment box below. Okay, dear viewers, for your information, we have actually conducted a minor survey among our own MAHSA University students about their perception towards written assessment, particularly on essays. So I think I'll be glad to share with you the difficulties that they claim to face in writing. So as you can see over the slides, these are some comments from our students. Some says that I hate writing, I do not know what to write, and some says that writing is too broady, and some says that my grammar is too weak, and some students they say that I'm too lazy to write, and some say that I often make embarrassing spelling mistakes, and some students they say that they don't have adequate vocabulary to write. So, Miss Nurul, so what is your opinion based on our students' comments on writing?
Yeah, okay. It's good that we have conducted such minor survey on the students about their perception of writing, right? So what are the difficulties that they face during completing the task. And if you notice, most of them are actually, I think they are being worried about their language, right? Like for
Yes.
example, they make spelling mistakes that they think it's embarrassing. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing to be embarrassed about, all right? So we are all still in the process of learning, so there's nothing wrong to make mistakes. And
Yes.
actually, making mistake is good somehow, right? At some point, because it will teach you not to do it again, so that you realize what is wrong with something that you have done. So some of them think that the grammar, something is not good with the grammar, and then their vocab, right? So yeah, we noticed that most of them, they are worried about their language. So there's nothing to be worried about. And please do not have this misconception where only people who are proficient speakers can score in writing. No, it is not necessarily like that, because actually
Yeah.
it is how you tackle the question. So it is how you tackle the task. And if you think that only proficient speakers can score, then how about all those native speakers? Do you think that they are able to score? So it is not necessary, right? Like for example, Malay speakers. Not all Malay speakers can score for their Malay language subject. The same thing with this as well. So it's a misconception that you have to wipe out of your mind.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing, Miss Nurul. Okay. As you said that planning is a must in writing process, right? So can you tell us about the pre-writing strategies? Yes.
All right. So actually, yeah, for students, actually, okay, instead of always being worried about your language, right? What if you you worry about something else, which is to incorporate pre-writing strategies when you write. Okay, so this is actually the first stage of a writing process. So basically, students who always, do mistakes in writing is because they start abruptly. All right. So actually, when you want to do, or when you're about to complete a written task, you have to first stop and plan, right? It is very important to plan first. You ask yourself, what are the ideas, right? What are the main points that you want to include in your essay? So if you
Yeah, they
just
need to
start,
draft their points first, right? They
yes,
need to
exactly.
draft out their points. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
So if you just start without even drafting, all right, without even incorporating pre-writing strategies, that is when problems occur, right? Where suddenly in the middle of writing, you're blank, you don't know what to write, and then you will start writing off topic. So that should not happen. So actually pre-writing, yeah, as I mentioned, is the first stage, the very first stage in your writing process. And this is where you brainstorm, all right, and you list or you generate ideas, relevant ideas that you want to include, that you plan to include in your writing. And not only that, you can also do mind mapping just to visualize your ideas, right? So mind mapping, maybe it can look like a tree, something that you can understand and you can enjoy, because writing should be enjoyable, all right? That's why we have writers. So writers, many of them think that their job is enjoyable, right? So they like it. So this is how you start pre-writing strategies. Okay.
That's amazing, Miss Nurul. Thank you so much for your wonderful tips. Okay, as you said that planning is a must in writing process. Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Moving on to next, Miss Nurul, students always confuse on essay structure. I mean the essay format. Okay, there
Yes.
are because there are many essay formats out there, and they are wondering on which one is the best essay structure to use for their essay writing. Could you tell us more about the essay writing structure, please?
Alright, so this is another story, alright, about essay
Mm.
structure. I noticed that many students, they still do not know how to structure their essay, alright? So
Mhm.
actually, if you know how to structure your essay will be organized and it will
Mhm.
cover all the important points. All right. So let's look at a common essay structure here. All right. So actually, when we talk about academic writing, because today actually when we discuss this, we are focusing more on academic writing. Okay. So
Mhm.
academic writing, as you know, it has different types. All right. Different types of essays. For example, we have maybe cause and
Opinion-based
effect.
writing, argumentative writing.
Yes, all right. Or maybe problem solution essays or whatnot. So this is the common structure that you can use to organize your AC. Okay, so the first one is that you have to start with intro, very important. Okay, I think this one everyone knows, right? You have to start with introduction when you write your essay. But what do you need to have in your intro? That is very important.
Mm.
Intro is the start, so you have to make sure that your introduction is interesting. If it's not interesting, then your audience might decide not to continue reading, right? So you have to attract them to engage in your AC. So first, what you have to do is you have to equip them with background info. All right. So that is the general statement. Something that is light. All right. Those little tiny things related to the topic you should mention first, and then after that followed by a thesis statement. So thesis statement, I believe students, particularly our students, they heard this, right? At least, okay, even if they're not sure what is the meaning of this statement, at least they have heard of it. So thesis statement is the main idea. So it serves as the guideline of the whole essay, alright? So your thesis statement should cover the whole essay. So what do you write in the thesis statement? So if it's an
Mhm.
opinion-based essay, you should tell your opinion, right? So you tell your opinion, and then you
Yeah.
can also cover the main points. But remember, just the main points. Do not
Mhm.
write, any supporting details or examples. Read just the main points. Okay. So after the introduction, I think if you can have this kind of introduction, it will be wonderful. All right. And as an examiner, I think I will be happy reading your
Mm.
essay. Okay, so the second one, okay, that is when you start writing the body. Okay, so you start writing the body. So actually, if you look at the slide here, for the body, it has three main points. All right. So how do I know there are three main points? Because there are three paragraphs there for the body. Okay.
Mm.
So it depends on how many main points that you want to include in your essay. So as a student, all right, you are encouraged to have at least 3 to 4 main points. Alright, so do not give more main points. That is not good. Alright, and I don't think you have time to cover as well because usually for an essay you have to follow the stipulated time. So maybe if you can have the most you can have 4 points to cover, or the least you can have three, and don't give less than three as well because that is not a good impression. All right. So if you give only 2 points, your examiners will think that you don't have ideas. So your content is not good. Okay, so maybe you can have around 3 to 4, right? This is actually in line with MUET examination as well, and also IELTS. You can have 3 to 4 points. And if you look at each paragraph, okay, in the body, it has the same structure. All right. So what does it cover? It has the same thing. First, you always have to start with a topic sentence. Very important. Right? Topic sentence where it serves the main point. So the first main point that will be in the topic sentence, and then after that, you can continue with supporting details so you can explain more about the point and then examples. So actually, every body paragraph you have to follow this one. All right. So you would need to have
Yeah.
topic sentence followed by the supporting details and concluding.
Explanation, elaboration.
Yes, all right. So concluding sentence, it depends. Sometimes some body paragraph you need to have that for some reasons, and sometimes not. But usually for common essays, you don't need to provide concluding sentence. All right. So this is actually the longest part of the essay for body paragraph. Okay. And then the last one
Miss
will
Nurul,
be conclusion. Yes.
sorry to interrupt you. I have a question here. Some students, they just like mixed up all their topic sentences in one single paragraph. So can you tell us more
Whoa.
about that, please?
All right, so yeah, you should not. All right, students, you should not mix up your points in one topic sentence. So actually, it's a big no-no to cover more than one point in one single paragraph. No, you can't. All right, that is not following the format. So make sure that is why we have this structure where for each
Yes.
body paragraph you start with topic
Mhm.
sentence which covers only one point and then the rest of it supporting details and examples, and then if you have more points then you have to mention it in the following paragraph. You can't
Yeah, true, very.
combine. All right. So the last
All
one
right.
here will be conclusion. Okay. So conclusion, I might say that this is the shortest part, right? In your AC, where let's say you really don't have ideas, right? Like you don't know what to put in your conclusion. You can just restate your statement, your thesis. Okay,
I
so you can just
see.
restate your thesis, or maybe you can summarize all the main points. Remember, just now I said if you have 3 points, so you can have 3 paragraphs in the body. So you can put all those 3 main points under the conclusion, right? Just to remind, right? Just to remind your audience, okay? And you can also write your wish, maybe, okay, what you think, what you want to happen, right? Things like that to conclude your AC. Okay?
Miss Nurul, sorry again. Do you have any examples of essay for our viewers today?
Yes, of course.
Do you?
So yeah, that is a good question, right? So from whatever we discussed, you should look at the sample AC, right? So that you
Yes.
get a clearer picture of it. So this is our sample AC, all right? So the AC question is that it is about an increasing number of people who are suffering from health problems. Okay, so this is it says a result of eating too much fast food. Yeah, so everyone likes fast food, right? I like fast food too, but we have to be moderate when eating. So it is therefore necessary for governments to impose a higher tax on this kind of food. So that is the issue. All right, it's about imposing tax, higher tax on fast food. So the question is that to what extent you agree or disagree on this opinion? Right? So that's the question. So when you read this, you will know that this is an opinion based essay. All right. It can be argumentative or persuasive essay. So when you read the essay question, please determine what is the type of essay that you have to write. All right, then you can imagine the structure of your essay. So yeah, so this is how at least your essay should look like. All right. So if you look at this AC all together, it has one, two, three, four, five. So it has all five paragraphs. So by looking at this, you will actually know that, oh, so altogether it has three main points. Okay, why three? Because you cannot touch the other two paragraphs, which are the intro and the conclusion. All right. So the middle part of the of the essay here is the body paragraph. All right. So as you can see in the sample essay, all right, it starts with the introduction. Okay. So it talks about, it serves background information first, okay, just to familiarize your audience, all right, the readers with the topic. And then you can start writing your thesis statement. Okay? So, because this is an opinion-based essay where the question wants to know your opinion, it is very important for you to write your opinion in your thesis statement. Okay, you have to mention whether you agree or you disagree, or whether you are being neutral about it. Okay, where you agree and at some point you disagree. Okay, and then yeah, followed by the body paragraph where it has three main points, as you can see here, and you can also see the words in yellow. All right, the words in yellow here, it means that the writer is using signposting language to tell readers the stage of the essay. All right, so signposting language is very important. It tells your readers what are they reading. Okay, are they reading the first point? Has the first point finished? Are they reading the second point now? Or are they reading the conclusion? Things like that. It will tell your readers things like that. Okay. So for each body paragraph, again, it doesn't matter how many points you have, but for each paragraph, it must consist of topic sentence, supporting details, and example. All right. Example, you can give your personal experience. You can, just share anything for the example. And then the last one is the conclusion. All right, where it talks again about the topics that have been discussed before. Okay, so this is how your AC should look like.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Nurul, for your great explanation on the essay structure. I believe that our viewers get clear picture on this and they able to know which format need to use and so on. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the next, as you are aware of, we are conducting online classes and based on my own personal experience during marking students' writing assessments, I found that the similarity of plagiarism among them quite high. So like the students just copy other people's work without using proper citation. I really don't know why is this happening, but I think they are just not aware of plagiarism, and I noticed that this problem mostly occurred for the written assessment. So, what's your opinion towards this, Ms. Nurul?
All right, so actually, before we start talking about plagiarism, yeah, it is actually an issue which is making me worried sick. All right, so yeah, students should not commit plagiarism. That is, something that everyone should know and everyone should be aware about. And not only students, everyone. All right, it's for everyone. So before we discuss more about plagiarism, all right, let me define what is actually plagiarism. Okay, so plagiarism is that it is the act of copying another work or borrowing someone else's original ideas. Okay, and the terms like copying and also borrowing, it can actually these two terms they can disguise the seriousness of the offense, right? So it is actually a fraud, right? So for the term plagiarism, all right, it covers stealing or passing off the ideas or words of another as one's own. So you take somebody else's words and then you put it in your work, and you it is that you want to give the impression that the work is coming from you, all right, solely from you. So that is plagiarism. And other than that, plagiarism is to use another production without crediting the source, all right. So it is to commit literary theft and also to present as new and original ideas or product derived from an existing source. So it is actually an act of fraud, and it should not happen, in this field. All right. So let's look at the types of plagiarism. All right, I think for students to avoid themselves to commit plagiarism is for them to know what are the types of plagiarism, because I think most of them, they think that plagiarism is something that you do intentionally, and it is when you take somebody else's work, all right, not your own work. But actually, it is possible if you take your own work, sometimes it is also a plagiarism, all right? So let's look at the types of plagiarism. So actually, the first one, we have a direct plagiarism, all right? So this is the most common one, all right, where it is a word-for-word transcription without quotation marks, all right? For example, you are taking somebody's speech, okay, maybe the speech of an important person, okay, maybe a speech from our prime minister, for example, okay. So you take the speech and then you put it in your work without citing, all right, without referencing. So this is direct plagiarism. So actually, when you take a speech, and usually a speech, it is a long speech, right? So because it is a long speech, you have to start with open quotation and you have to end it with close quotation. All right, and then okay, that is direct plagiarism. The second one is what we call self-plagiarism. Okay, so what is self-plagiarism? All right, it is actually when you submit your own work. Okay, you submit your own work, but maybe you have done it before. It's your previous work. Okay, let's say, all right, last semester you have done something. Your lecturer asked you to do a written task, and then you have completed it and you have submitted. Okay, so done. And then this semester, all right, another lecturer is asking you to do the same thing. Maybe the question is similar or even the same. Okay, so you decide to, okay, so let's just take what I have done before because I have done it, right? So you decide to just take that and then submit to your current lecturer, all right? So that is self-plagiarism, all right? Because you copy your own work, or maybe you mix part of your previous work without the permission from the professors involved, right? Or the permission of your lecturers. So this is a type of plagiarism that you should not commit, because even though it is your own work, it has been done and it has been submitted earlier. All right, so it is already in the system. Even if it's not in the system, it is not ethical to do that. All right, you should not
Ethical.
do
Yes.
Yes. So please don't commit, don't commit in this kind of, type of plagiarism. You see, it is also the matter of time, all right? It involves the matter of time where even though you have done it before, maybe back in 2016, and now it is 2020, and you want to use it again, it is still a type of plagiarism, right? Because why is it? Because it's from the same person but different year. Because they are different sources. Okay. Actually, when we conduct research or when we conduct, theses and so on, um, when we cite somebody else's work, right, which maybe has been done in 2016, and then we cite still from the same person, but from 2020, uh, they are still different sources, right? Different materials. So you should not do that. Okay, and then the third one here is accidental plagiarism. All right. So yeah, it is even called accidental, right? So it is when a person neglects to cite their sources, or maybe they misquote their sources, or maybe unintentionally paraphrase the source by using similar words, or maybe group of words, or maybe the sentence structure without attribution. Okay, so this is accidental plagiarism. So that is why, students, you have to learn how to incorporate citation in your writing. Right? So we have actually different types of citation and referencing that are available. For example, we have APA. For me, APA is very common, okay, because I've
Yeah.
done it before. I used APA as well. But for some people, they might be using Harvard style,
Howard.
Vancouver style. So it doesn't matter whatever style or whatever citation that you want to use. You have to make sure you know the rules, all right? You know the rules and format to incorporate it so that you can avoid yourself from committing accidental plagiarism. Okay, so this might be something that you really don't want to, but it just happened. All right. So the next one, okay, which is also the last one, is mosaic plagiarism. All right. So this is also what we call patch writing. Okay. So patch writing is when a student borrows phrases from a source without using quotation marks, or maybe they just paraphrase here and there. All right. Without even changing the general sentence structure. So the sentence structure is still there. So that is also not good. Okay, so you can't do that. Even though you change a little bit here and there, that is the plagiarism that you should not commit.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for all your brilliant points, Miss Nurul. I think all these points and tips are really very helpful for our viewers to improve
I
their writing
agree.
skills. Okay, thank you. Okay, Miss Nurul, it looks like we have few questions from our viewers. So with that, we will go ahead and take some questions for the Q&A segments. So viewers, just a reminder again, please be sure to type your questions into the comment box below. Thank you. Questions?
So are there any questions? I really encourage students to, ask me questions. Yeah, please be part of
Yeah.
our discussion so that you can benefit at least something from it.
Okay. Okay, so far I think we have no questions. So it looks like we have covered all our topics, all our all the quick tips to improve their writing assessment. So, Miss Nurul, is there anything else you wanted to cover up before the wrap up? You want to say something to our viewers on this
Right,
topic?
so yeah, there's nothing much to cover. It's just I really, really hope that our topic today, our discussion today, would be at least beneficial for them. All right, so that they can start practicing when they do their written assessment. I really hope that students don't do the same mistakes. All right, do not commit plagiarism and learn citation. But actually, yeah, we just mentioned a little bit about citation. It is actually a big, big topic to be covered. And I really hope that maybe in the near future we can conduct another discussion like this so that, we can cover citation. All right?
Miss Nurul, sorry,
So,
sorry again. Sorry to interrupt you again. Just some questions are coming in. The questions from Lavanya Lawa. She asking whether how to be aware of many mistakes in my essay. How to be aware? They're asking.
how to be aware. All right.
Hmm.
So yeah, there are different types of mistakes that
Hmm.
you can probably commit.
Maybe
For
grammar
example,
mistake.
grammatical mistakes, and then maybe your structure, all right, your sentence structure, or maybe even the words that you are using are not suitable with the situation that you are discussing. So, for you to realize it is actually by reading it again. So, okay, that is why you have to develop writing strategies, which first you do pre-writing, all right? So you draft, and then only once you have got all the points, right? And once you know what are the points that you want to cover, then only you start writing. So once you have started, okay, you finish your essay, and then when you're finished, it is the time to actually check your mistakes. All right. So this is where you check your grammatical mistakes, your sentence structure, and so on. And some students they do not want to cancel whatever that they have written. Okay, they don't like to strike through the sentences. Actually, it is okay for us as examiners. Students can just cancel the sentences they have written and then write new sentences. It doesn't matter, all right? And it doesn't even, affect your marks. So don't just don't have this kind of thinking that when I submit my paper, it has to be clean and clear. No, all right? So you can cancel the sentences that you have written, whichever you think it's not, written well, so that you can write it again and then only you submit. Okay, so yeah, basically it's very important for you to check. So once you have finished everything, don't just let it be. Check first before you submit.
All right. Okay, thank you. So Lavanya, I hope our speaker has answered your questions. Okay, thank
I
you.
really hope
Another
so.
question. Another question for you, Miss Nurul. Okay, from Corbin Prince, is asking that so for an essay, no limits on words, so word counting. So I can write as much as I can. So he's talking.
Oh,
Basically, he's
so
asking about word count.
yeah, yeah. So word limit. So that is actually a very brilliant question. All right, so whenever you are given a written task, all right, the word limit will be given there. Okay, and for your level, for example, IELTS. Okay, IELTS, you should write at least 250 words. Okay, what does it mean by at least? It means you should write more than that. You should write more than 250. Okay, and for most of the AC, sometimes I think around 350. Okay, 300 to 350. So actually, when you read the AC question, the word limit will be written there. So you have to follow. And actually, students are encouraged to write the number of words of the essay at the end of their essay. So not many students do that, I notice. So it actually helps your examiners to determine the number of words, whether you are following the format, you are following the instruction or not. And some students, they find it difficult to actually count the word one by one. You should not do that. You should not count one by one. So how do you do it is that you count maybe the first line, you try to count how many words are there in the first line, and then you take another line and count how many words, and then maybe take another line to count how many words. Then from those three lines, just take the average number of words, and then you can just multiply by how many lines you have. That will tell you how many words that you have actually used for your whole essay. All
Yes.
right? Because we
Yeah.
don't need the accurate number of words. We're not going to count it anyway. We just want to know
Yeah.
how many around how many words that you have.
Yeah, and one more thing, always bear in your mind, please adhere to the word limit. Okay, always follow the instruction. Okay, okay,
Yes.
thank you. I hope Prince Boy, you got clear picture now. Okay, another question, Miss
Oh,
Nurul
okay.
from Anis Amalina. For the sample essay before that you have given, can I disagree the statement? But my points are about other ways to cut excessive intake of fast food.
Can you read the question again for
So
me?
basically, she's asking for the sample essay before, can I disagree the statement, but my points are about other ways. She has got like other points, not the given
Oh,
points.
okay.
So she asked me.
Okay, your points are about other ways of
Yeah.
improving the
Mhm.
self
Yeah.
lifestyle, right?
You are right. Yes.
I'm afraid that it will be off topic because the question there is to ask you about your opinion on imposing tax on fast food.
Mm. Yeah, you're right.
So actually, the question just wants to know what is your opinion on that, whether you think government should impose or not. Just that. So if you think the government should impose, it means you agree with that. Alright, so you agree that the government should impose tax, and what are the reasons that you agree? So you have to give three reasons. So maybe first, you want people to be moderate, when taking fast food, alright, and maybe second, whatnot, and so on. And then if you disagree, alright, if you disagree, then in your thesis statement, you should say that you disagree that government should impose tax on fast food. And you have to give at least three reasons why. And those reasons should be covered in your body paragraph. So what are the reasons that you disagree? So maybe first, you think that people do not care about taxes, they would still buy, right? Let's just look at cigarettes. It doesn't matter how much tax imposed on cigarettes, people would still buy cigarettes. So you think that it's going to be the same thing for this issue as well. And then second, another point and so on. So try to answer accordingly and do not answer agree or disagree, and then you turn to other points. So I'm afraid that will be off topic and that will be very, very dangerous. All right. If off topic, it means the content will be, it means you are talking about, you are discussing something that is not relevant to the question. All right. So be careful with that. But it's a nice question. Thank you so much for asking.
Mhm. Okay, I have a question for you, Miss Nurul. Okay,
Oh, okay.
rather than being agree and disagree, can we be moderate for that topics?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I mean like we can agree and we can disagree.
Yes,
So
of course. So I mentioned that just now that you can also choose to be neutral. Alright? You can be neutral where you agree, but to some extent you disagree because of some reasons. Alright? For some reasons you disagree. But you have to make sure once you have mentioned that in your thesis statement, you have to cover the points in the body paragraph. So if you are neutral, it means you will cover the negative and positive points. Alright? So it's up to you how many points that you want to give for negative and then for positive for these two sides. So maybe 2 plus 2, or maybe 3 plus 1, or 1 plus 3. So it's up to you. Yes, but definitely you can be moderate.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I hope Anis, Amalina got clear picture of that now. Okay, another question. Okay, hi everyone. My question is, as a lecturer, how do you handle your student plagiarism?
Student plagiarism.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you notice, that is why when we ask students to submit their work, they have to submit through Turnitin, right? I think this is one of the most common app where we can read the similarity, the level of the similarity, right? So this is how I track my students' plagiarism. And other than that, okay, let's say if it's when you submit a hard copy answer, all right, answer script. So when I read your AC, sometimes I don't know students. Sometimes I don't know which students that copies another, alright. But when they submit, when everyone submits, I will see, like, I will notice both, alright. Usually we will not forget when we just read something, and then the next day or the next few days we read another one that is similar.
Similar,
Uh,
yeah.
yes, so actually the possibility for us to track that is
Mm,
very high, all right?
mm,
Unless I read it last year and then I read it now, all right?
mm,
Or when the interval is long, so the possibility to track their plagiarism is maybe a little bit lower. But
mm.
other than that, I can also track by just writing any of their sentences. I just type, all right? I just go to Google. Okay, thanks to Google, I just type
Mm.
the sentence and pop, everything will appear.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
I can see the whole AC is there, so that is totally plagiarism. All right, but that is for when you submit hard copy. But yeah, when it is online, that is why now we always encourage students to submit their work through Turnitin. So I don't have to look at it on my own manually. I just look at that the percentage of their similarity.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Miss. Another question. Miss, in writing, I can get the points easily, but it's difficult to me to elaborate the points.
Okay, so that is a good question. So yeah, sometimes students find difficulties to elaborate more the point, to explain more about the point. Okay, it's good if you can identify what are the points that you want to include. That's very good. Okay, how to elaborate? Firstly, when you do your draft, all right, you can include what are the little tiny things that you want to talk about. All right, if you think it's very difficult for you, because for most students, they don't really write their supporting details in the draft. So for the supporting details, they will just write it when they are writing. But if you think it is very difficult for you to elaborate, you can include the supporting details in the draft itself. All right. You know what? For elaboration, it doesn't have to be something, something heavy. Uh, as long as you can discuss, anything related to the point. that you discuss,
Mhm.
that will already be okay, right? So when I read it, when I read your topic sentence, okay, you have your point, that is good, and then I read your supporting details. All right, this is related to the point. You are still talking about the point. That is good. And then I just read your example. Okay, this student is giving me the situation based on the main point given. So you are actually good. You are just fine if you can do that, right? So you
Mhm.
don't have to think much about how to elaborate and so on. You can think of it as you are writing, or you can also include it in your pre-writing stage. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Miss Nurul. Another question from the same person, Michael. In my essay, there is a lot of grammar mistakes. How to reduce it, madam? How?
Okay, grammatical mistakes. Okay, as you know, grammar is something from the mind, right? So for you to avoid grammatical mistakes is actually whether you are familiar with that language or not. Okay, because grammar sometimes when you say something, it is a matter of whether it sounds good or not. Usually, if it doesn't sound good, it means your grammar is wrong. Okay, let's say I give you one example. Let's say when a person asks you, "What are your name?" What are your name? Does it sound okay to you,
Yeah.
Miss Priya?
No, of
It's
course.
very wrong, right?
Hmm.
Because of the little tiny things. So actually for grammar, it is whether it sounds right or not. And of course for grammar, for you to brushing up your skills in grammar is to read a lot. All
Hmm.
right.
You're
When
right.
you read a lot, you will be more familiar with the usage. All right. Therefore, you won't do such mistakes. So if you don't read a lot, I think I can't really help you with grammatical mistakes. For you to be familiar, you have to read a lot. Okay.
Miss Nurul, do they allow it to use, the application such as, Grammarly.com to proofread their work? I mean, to check their grammatical mistakes. Do they allow it to use that?
I think for face-to-face class,
Mm,
usually the assignments will be given in the class where you have to complete it and then submit. So it is actually on paper and it is hard copy. So I don't think that they should, they can't use such apps. But if it's online, I think
mm,
if it can benefit them, why not, right?
mm.
But yeah, when we go back to face-to-face class, the assignments will be on paper, and when you submit, you have to submit the hard copy. So they will not be able to use.
Okay, so it's look like we have covered all our questions. Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Nurul, and thank you everyone. We appreciate you being here on behalf of MAHSA University. I would like to thank you for joining us today. So we hope that you have found this webinar valuable for you, and don't forget to visit our MAHSA webpage as well as our MAHSA Facebook page to get to know more about MAHSA as well as their programs. Okay, you can really build your bright future at MAHSA. Thank you, and that's all from us. Thank you so much. Bye bye.